Hey everybody, we're out here in the woods today and we're going to expand on the question that was asked on another video, which is, can you send messages from an inReach to a ZOLEO device? Answer is yes. So we're going to be sending round-trip messages of each of the message types that you can have between the inReach and the ZOLEO. We're going to expand on some of the nuances between the two of them because they're not exactly the same way how they treat certain messages. For this exercise, we're going to flip the camera around and I'm going to be using my smartphone. We're going to be using the Earthmate app for the Explorer Plus to send the messages so you can see what's going on there, and we can use the ZOLEO Messaging app for the ZOLEO. So let me flip this around and get it up and get started. All right, let's set up here by starting to send some SMS messages via the Iridium satellite network. So SMS, which is cell phone text messages, 160 characters in length. So what we're going to do here is we are going to start up our Earthmate app. So I'm just going to get into my phone here and we're going to tap on Earthmate to open that up, and we're going to start from the messages tab. You can see here that you can do map, share, Facebook and Twitter, along with sending SMS messages or email to your contacts here on the inReach. So I'm going to tap on new message and we're going to enter my ZOLEO dedicated SMS number. So this is one of the advantages of using a ZOLEO. As long as the device is connected, you will be given a dedicated SMS number and email address. So we have our contact here. So now what we're going to do here is just simply compose our message. So we're going to compose a quick SMS message to the ZOLEO like that. All right, and also what we can do here, we have our preset messages if you wanted to send that. You can also include our location, so I'm going to enable that and I'm going to tap on send to quickly send this message. So you can see here the new message is at the top of my list. You can see the little icons here saying that it's an SMS message. You can see here that it is being sent, and now it's just a matter of time now for the inReach to send this message via the Iridium satellite network. Notice here on the inReach we have a red LED flashing that indicates that it is trying to send the message. And there you go. It took about 3 minutes to send that text message. You can see here on my ZOLEO, it gave me a smartphone notification that came in really quick. Reason why the notification that I got the message in ZOLEO was so quick is because of the fact that I can also send and receive messages via cellular, Wi-Fi, or the Iridium satellites on the ZOLEO. Hence, I'm connected on cellular, so that's why I was able to relay that message really quick. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to flip over to the ZOLEO app here. So I'm just going to look it up here and tap on it to open it up. And you can see here, this is my inReach SMS number that is associated. Now, like I say, inReach doesn't give you a dedicated SMS number, unlike ZOLEO. However, it takes a bit for inReach to recycle those numbers. So what I used to do is basically, before I head out on the trip, I would send messages from the inReach for whoever I wanted to stay in contact and say, just reply to this cell phone number if you want to reach me. And that would be good for about a 2-week period. I don't know if they shorten things if you don't use it, but anyway, so here it is in ZOLEO. We're going to tap on that and I'm going to write a message here. And I'm just going to send this. You can see here, it tells me how many characters I have available. And again, you can see in my inReach message, I included the link to my location. So I'm going to do the same. I can send that. And as soon as I tap on the location, it not only sent my message, it also sent my location as a second message. So now, since I'm connected to a cellular network on my cell phone, it would send the message almost immediately because that network is available, doesn't cost against my service plan, and I'll do a few more messages using the satellite so we can see how fast both the inReach and the ZOLEO can send messages over the Iridium satellite. But you can see now that we are message, we got the little check mark indicate that the message has been acknowledged by the ZOLEO servers or been sent. Connection was made and sent. So this message should be on its way. What we're going to do here is we're not going to wait for the interval. Well, maybe we hit the interval at the time here, but you can see here that we got a tone from our inReach to say that we got a message. Let me flip over, and that was pretty quick. Now there might be some little details I learned deep in the forums here, that when you send a message over the Iridium satellite network, either on inReach or ZOLEO, it will keep listening for like a minute or two to see if there's any quick replies. And there it goes. There's the other message that I sent with my location. So that's great. So that's test number 1. Now what I'm going to do here is I'm going to send a different message type. I'm going to send myself an email. All right, so I'm going to send this message to my email address. So I can tap on the little buddy icon here, and I can look up all of my contacts that are saved on the inReach portal, and that is synced on the device. So with inReach, at least I can initiate messages from the device, from the Explorer Plus, unlike ZOLEO, where I really do need to use the cell phone or the messaging app to be able to send messages. I can send check-in messages or SOSs from the device itself, just like the inReach, but when you're doing pure messaging, you got to use the messaging app on the ZOLEO. So at least with the inReach, you have the contacts that are synced on the device. Also, you have access to all your phone contacts. On the ZOLEO, you just have access to your phone contacts. So what I'm going to do here, again, I'm going to type them. I'm going to compose email message to Jim's ZOLEO device using the iridium network. So what I'm going to do here is, you can see here I'm getting really close to my 160 characters that I can send for this message type. And that's the limitation with the inReach. Even if you're sending to an email address or an SMS number, it's still 160 characters. On the flip side, on the ZOLEO, we'll see here on the reply, for emails, we do have access to a little more characters, somewhere over 200 or close to a tweet, depending on the circumstance, or if you're including emojis or links, anything like that. So again, what we're going to do here is we're going to send it, and we're going to see how long it takes to send this email over the Iridium satellite network. And while it sends it, what I'm going to do here for demonstration purposes here, I'm just going to turn off my cellular and Wi-Fi so that the ZOLEO will receive the message via the Iridium satellite network. All right, so that sent the message pretty quick from the inReach. I'm going to flip over to the ZOLEO now. We'll see how long it takes to receive this message. So we can check to see which network that we're receiving the ZOLEO message from by tapping here on the tray here. We can see that down here at the bottom will say messages delivered via satellite. If we were connected to cell phone network, we would have messages delivered via mobile device. So what we're going to do here is, you can see the next time is going to do a message check here on the interval, which will be in a couple minutes. Or we can speed this up by tapping on check messages so that we don't take too long to check this message type. You can see here the signal strength coming in. See that bar? And there we go. We have the inReach coming in. That took a few minutes. You can see we got the notification from the ZOLEO Messaging app. You can see here it didn't use the SMS number. It used the no reply inReach at Garmin. And you can see here, you can see that I used an accent language support, not quite supported here on the inReach. All right, so you can see here, to view the location or send a reply, I would have to go to this website and compose the message here. So I couldn't necessarily reply to this email. So what I could do, so in this case, using email between ZOLEO and inReach is not really feasible. So that's kind of a shame. So if you're in the field, you got to send a message to your boss or manager or a friend who's at the office waiting for your email to come in. Maybe they're waiting for a coordinate or whatever. They couldn't necessarily reply to this. They would need to go and send you an SMS to confirm that they got it. So that's a little bit of a limitation here. Here on the ZOLEO, you can see after the timestamp, you see a little satellite icon that shows you that that was received via the satellite. So now with that, I can do the third type of messages, which is the app-to-app messages. So app-to-app messages is basically internal. So if you're using the ZOLEO, anybody who can download the ZOLEO messaging app can send app-to-app messages. You don't need activated ZOLEO device to talk to somebody with a ZOLEO device. So let's say that I am in the woods. I want to talk to the missus or the boss or a friend or buddies. The buddy can just download the app, enter their cell phone and name just like any other messaging app, and then we can send messages to each other. And you can see here at the bottom, we have over 1,000 characters that we can send. Which let's flip over to the inReach. In this case, that you want to send app-to-app messages. So if I were to do this, as you can see here on my contact, I have the IR, which indicates inReach. So you can see here that I'm sending an inReach message here. And again, I'm just going to type in a message to see what's going on here. Sending a message to my inReach using app to app, or in this case it's device to device, because with inReach you gotta send it to somebody who owns an inReach device. You don't have that flexibility where anybody can download a messaging app that can communicate with somebody with the device. And also app to app, you can't send an internal inReach to ZOLEO, right? So that's that clear separation. So I am just going to and you can see here that I'm still locked at 160 characters. And you can see the last time I sent a message to myself was a few years ago. So again, we sent that pretty quick over the satellites. So what I'm going to do here now is I'm going to flip back to my ZOLEO. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to reply to this SMS number that I sent on my inReach. So the tone that we heard is, of course, our inReach message. Now it was really quick because we're just sending it to ourselves. So that's that. Let's flip over to our original SMS email. We're gonna send a reply. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to send a reply to my original SMS from the ZOLEO. And this time you can see on the timestamp I have a little satellite icon. This means that I'll be sending this message via iridium satellites. The spinning blue LED indicates that it's trying to send the message. You heard the tone, was able to send the message, so that was fairly quick. And we're going to wait until we get a reply. So we're going to flip over to our inReach app and see when we're going to get the message. And there you go. It received the message sent from the ZOLEO via the satellites. And you send it. So what I'm going to do here is just do a quick reply and try to send it right away. So while we wait for this message to send back to the ZOLEO, what I'm going to do here is I'll show you one last thing here, which is weather. Both devices can support weather provided by dark sky. It'll be interesting to see in the next little while what happens to dark sky. As you know, or you may not know, dark sky has been bought by Apple, and that will be integrated into the Apple devices. So will be interesting to see the alternatives they'll come out with. Personally, I hope they come out with windy. We can hear the audible from the inReach, meaning that they just sent the message from the inReach, and we'll see how long it takes for us to receive this message on the ZOLEO, and we'll know this because of the audible and also the smartphone notification here. But anyway, back to weather. You can see here under more we have weather, and we can grab a basic weather. So let's ask for weather. Now let's see here, let's tap on locations, and we're going to request weather for one of my locations, and we're going to refresh here. There we go. Now we're going to request weather forecast. Now while it does that, we're going to flip over to our ZOLEO app, and we can also have weather. You can see here down at the bottom tab, but down here at the tab we have our message, wet message, or weather. You can see here the last time that we checked for weather. We don't have the option to have multiple weather locations just in the inReach, but we do have our current location. Again, if we were using cellular or Wi-Fi, we can request a free message or free request for the weather, and it would be pretty instantaneous, just like any other app on the smartphone. But since we're going to be requesting this from the satellite, might take a minute or two. Be interesting to see that too. You can also see here we also have the SOS tab. Same thing in the inReach. Let's flip over to the inReach here while we wait. We can also do an SMS from the app. We can also do SOS via the devices, and both are monitored by the GEOS monitoring service. So they're both the service. Also interesting to note, if you haven't been following the news, Garmin bought the GEOS. So Garmin is now, or has this company that monitors the other iridium satellite communicators. So inReach, ZOLEO, and there's a couple others, smaller devices that uses the SOS monitoring. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. So you can see here that we have our ZOLEO message here. Here's our reply here from our message. You can see we received that from the satellite. Also from inReach, we received another indicator saying that probably we got our weather forecast. You can see on the device itself we have an indicator. Let's flip over here. Hasn't quite, oh, there you go. The ZOLEO updated itself pretty quick, and that also means that the ZOLEO weather has been updated also. Or is it still getting forecast? There it is. So there you go. So we have this type of interface for the weather. Next 3 days, every couple hours interval. Got some basic info. And let's flip over to the ZOLEO. You have a little bit more info, have a bit more outlooks, and you got a bit more of the time slices here of the information. Overall, I've been very satisfied with dark sky. I have moved on to windy the last couple years, so it will be very interesting to see what both of these guys will do for weather. All right, so what did we learn today? So we learned that both will send messages over the Iridium satellite network approximately the same time, and they both will listen once they send a message to see if we have any reply. So depending on how quick you can request or send messages, you might get the reply back fairly quickly. We learned that SMS works great between both of them. It's a real benefit to have the dedicated ZOLEO number so that you can plug that into your inReach. You really can't initiate an SMS from ZOLEO to inReach without really knowing the receiving a number. So that's why you almost have to send a message to your contact before you go out on your trip for that. We also saw for email that we can send over 200 characters in an email for the ZOLEO, and we can send it to any email address. When we send an email from the inReach, it's still 160 characters, and we have this weird web page that we have to type in a reply, so it's not all within the messaging app. We also saw that inReach can only send messages via the Iridium satellite network. ZOLEO can send via cellular, Wi-Fi, or the Iridium satellite network. Whichever one is available, the cheapest one that is available, it will send it. And of course, if you have cellular reception, you can send the messages relatively free, unless of course you're on satellite, then that will cost you on your service plan. Both will offer weather by dark sky. It'd be interesting to see what happens when Apple cuts off ties with that, to see how they're going to do weather. Both uses dark sky, both have pretty much the same amount of information, and both can initiate check-ins and SOSs from the device and also on the app, different ways. And one last thing is, because of the Explorer Plus, you can do a little bit more on the device standalone as per the ZOLEO, where other than check-ins and SOS, you really got to do all your messaging and weather from the messaging app. Hopefully this video has been fairly helpful to make your decisions. I included a link in the description of a kind of a breakdown, pricing grid and feature grid between the inReach, ZOLEO, and even the Spot, even though we don't really talk about Spot these days because where are they? That's about it. Leave your comments down, and we'll talk to you guys later.